the next 4 weekends is visibility, which includes tabling and asking store owners to put the window signs in their door. If anybody is working on a campaign that might be sympathetic, such as gay marriage, Cindy Sheehan, Obama, tenant issues, any of the candidates, the school board candidates that we talked about, Prop U, the anti-war initiative, if anybody is doing any kind of outreach, publicity, visibility on any of those campaigns and would want to take our information as well, that would really help, because we believe, thanks to KPOO and other mechanisms, when we get the word out there, San Franciscans, who have already voted actually overwhelmingly in past elections that we do not want military recruitment in our schools, we have voted overwhelmingly to end the war in Iraq. And if we make it clear that this program is military recruitment, targeting our youth of color as cannon fodder, we can win this, but we need everybody's help. So please contact Marco, look at our website. Again, it doesn't roll off your tongue, but the website is nomilitaryrecruitmentinourschools.org.
Yeah, I think it's important that people are well informed of these issues, because when you have a lot of issues on the ballot, it's truly amazing to...
In fact, one last thing on that, just if people get frustrated with the length of the ballot, we're actually the last initiative on the San Francisco ballot. It's A through V. So at least go down to the last two, because U is no more funding for the war, and V is about JROTC. So if you get bored with the whole thing, be sure you make it down to the bottom.
And vote yes on U and no on V.
Correct.
So. A question. I'm going to play the devil's advocate again. Do you think some sort of civilian-type program in schools would be beneficial in the future?
Yes. In fact, a member of the committee, the No on V committee, was part of the task force, the alternative task force that was assigned by the district to find an alternative to JROTC, which are now implemented in two of the high schools and will be expanded once JROTC is phased out this spring. So, and one of the things that came out was NERT, N-E-R-T, the emergency preparedness programs,
right,
as well as firefighter programs, and these are subsidized by the state funding for emergency preparedness. So
sure,
these are even more inexpensive than, well, definitely inexpensive compared to paying $1 million for 500 students with JROTC. And we're actually training students real things that they can apply in real life, first aid skills, paramedic skills, and it's something pertinent to our community. This is San Francisco. We have earthquakes here. We want to be able to deal with earthquakes. We want to teach our students to be able to deal with earthquakes and emergencies. We don't want to teach them values that makes them inclined to joining the military and being cannon fodder for, again, the endless wars that the United States are engaged in.
You're 100% right, and I'd like to add on a little bit to what you said, Marco, because I think U.S. Geological Survey and others, they have upped their prediction for a major quake. And we're either going to have the Hayward Fault or the San Andreas or the Calaveras, and they're expecting serious things. So if you look at getting those programs installed now, and the time, let's say somebody is in the program, if it's 4 years, then there's an opportunity, if they're 2 years into the program, et cetera. And I think the city of San Francisco and the cities around the Bay Area are much better off, because people can help people, and it's saving lives, not losing lives. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a much better bottom line on it.
And just to add to the point that I made, these programs that firefighter training programs, the NERT emergency preparedness programs, these exist already. They have been applied in some form or another in various school districts throughout the country. So we're not reinventing the wheel. This isn't going to take a year to develop a curriculum. It's simply a matter of emulating the programs and plugging it into the school districts. And once we take back that $1 million that we give to the Pentagon every year, it'll be seamless. it'll be seamlessly integrate. The alternative programs will be seamlessly integrated into our schools.
Yeah, and paramedics get paid fairly well, I would think. And so it's a good opportunity for black and brown youth, et cetera.
And I'm just remembering, of course, in the aftermath of Katrina, they didn't even have the National Guard there because even the National Guard has been sent overseas. So there's a real need for that kind of domestic support.
I totally agree. There's nothing like doing 2 or 3 tours for a wrong war. And it's finally coming out. Everybody was rah, rah, let's do this, rah, rah, let's do that. And all of a sudden there's an awakening. And not only there's an awakening in the American public's pocketbook. This has been quite costly, not only in terms of the lives of many of the people that served in a gallant manner, but when you've got a war and it's inaccurate, that's not the way. What is that thing? There was some declaration of hostilities had ended. Somebody landed on an aircraft carrier.
Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished with Bush.
Right. Yeah.
Many coffins since then.
Right.
One thing. We might have varying opinions about how we feel about the U.S. military, but in terms of this particular initiative, we should be very specific about what we're talking about. We're not even necessarily anti-military, and we're not even necessarily anti-recruitment. So we're not saying there should not be recruiting centers in the city and county of San Francisco. We're saying they don't belong in our public schools. So as my daughter, who again is one of the reasons that I'm so deeply involved in this, as my daughter says, if it's such a good program, they can go after school. It just shouldn't be on our campuses. We're not saying it's not in San Francisco.
Sure.
In terms, I'm not speaking about myself personally, but I'm talking about our campaign.
Sure.
Our campaign is very limited to saying, don't target our youth in our schools with our tax dollars.
Well, it's more than that, and when I say it's more than that, I heard some things from you today, and I think when you're black and brown and low income, you're a target. And we've heard about teachers and teachers who target these youth. And until we get better trained teachers and better balanced teachers, I don't like the idea of a teacher or a counselor trying to push a youth into a program that either because of lack of leadership at home or somebody watching out for that youth, that they could wind up in a situation or a scenario that's not to their advantage, and where the end of it, at worst case scenario, can cost them their life. That's not a good equation. It's a good equation when it's a win-win situation all the way around. And it doesn't mean that if you're low income, a youth of color, that you get pushed into something because your chances are slim outside and they're going to be slimmer inside. That's not fair. So, I thank both yourself, Riva, and Marco for standing up for a lot of youth. It's very, 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 very important that somebody stands up for these kids. A lot of these kids look and they say, my God, I reached my 18th birthday, my 19th birthday. I'm happy I'm alive. And we need to have more things that ensures the longevity of their lives than potentially puts them in harm's way. And so that's very good that you guys are standing out in the anti-Prop V.
Thank you.
And I'd like you to give out the information so people can contact you. And if you need volunteers, put it out and we'll see what we can do.
So yes, once again, our website is www.no